I am an incel, or an incel advocate, I suppose. I don't hate women at all. I think we're different, and they have aspects that are superior to men as well. It's just very contextual on the subject.
3 feminists debate 3 minimists. Okay, here we go.
How's it going? Hello?
Hello.
Would you call yourself a feminist?
I would.
Yes, an intersectional feminist.
When you hear the word feminism, what comes to mind?
Marxism?
To me, feminism is fairness.
I think that it's unfortunately misguided.
Feminism is a flawed movement.
When you hear the phrase men...
Okay, just that very start. We're gonna start with the game, guys. And part of the fun is that I couldn't show you too much before we started with this game. But you know how we like to do it. I wanna get you guys bought in. We got a Prince quiz, guys. We're gonna start with, which of these 3 guys will you agree with the most? And we're doing this before you really see it. I only wanted to show you that really quick clip to kind of make it fun. So just put in the chat here. 1, Kursat, that's the guy on the left. 2, Derek, the guy in the middle. Or 3, Zach, the guy on the right. Which of these 3 do you predict you're going to agree with most throughout this debate? So 1, 2, or 3, Kursat, Derek, or Zach?
Rights, what comes to mind?
Aggression.
Advocating for the human rights of man as a class.
I start laughing.
What do you hope to get from the conversation today?
I would hope to get some insight and probably, if anything, agree on a lot more than disagreeing.
I actually hope to get a little bit more understanding of why some men think this way.
Do you think there's middle ground between men's rights activists and feminism?
We'll see.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I am 24 years old.
This is Chris. I'm a PhD student at the University of Southern California, and I'm also a Title IX specialist who challenges discrimination against men on college campuses. And I'm 30 years old.
Hi, I'm Derek. I also go by Brendio. I'm a YouTuber, and I'm also known as an incel, which is an involuntarily celibate.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I am a writer, poet, and teaching artist.
Hi, I currently work in the pet health industry, and I'm 30.
I'm 24. I'm a graduate student with a degree in health sciences, and I'm excited to be here today.
Can I get my men's rights activists in the left and my feminists on the right?
Okay, now, before we get started for this too, we gotta throw one at the other side here. We got a Prince quiz, but this time, all right, the question's a little bit different because, there's a chance we may not agree with any of them, but who of these 3 will be the most reasonable? Number 1, we have Alicia. 2 is Bae. I don't even think she ever says her name, so Bae, I think. Bae. Or 3 is Mimi.
If this statement is true for you, I believe men and women are different but equal.
I know as a woman that I don't have the same physical strengths. Men and women are built differently. I think whenever things are built differently, it's for a reason, right? But at the same time, the amount of limits that have been put on women historically, like the fact that not too long ago we were just allowed to start voting. Even today, like the wage gap, just all types of stuff. Like women just don't have a lot of rights that are just, it should have nothing to do with what gender we are to be able to be paid equally or just be treated with respect. So, yeah.
I do believe that, of course, there are biological differences between men and women. And of course, there should also be legal equality. Of course, I disagree with the idea that women face systemic discrimination. You just mentioned the wage gap, which has been debunked so many times.
I've studied evolutionary biology quite a bit. And men and women are very different from not just a physical, the bone structure, the neurological department as well as the chemical balances. And also, I don't believe that men and women are equal under the law either, or they should be rather. Children are not equal under the law. And it's not because we hate children, it's because we love them and we want to protect them.
So if you believe we're not equal, then that you're inferring that one would be greater than the other.
Well, so let me
So that's what
chime in
I'm
with my
trying to-
perspective.
yeah.
As far as not being equal, I don't think that necessarily means inferior or superior. When it comes to certain things like roles like childbearing, a woman is going to be far more productive and a lot more nurturing than, say, a man. And when it comes to doing a lot more of the heavy lifting and the work, a man is probably going to be more suited for that role. And I don't think that makes them any better or worse. We are just built, created, and born different.
I would also like to elaborate. I am not saying that they are worse overall or better overall.
They complement each other.
Like he said, yeah, they do.
They complement each other beautifully.
They work very well together.
We
when
need
they
each
are
other for
working in that proper-
offspring. I mean, that's part of the beauty of it. And I think trying to equalize them and make them the same and transition and all that, I don't believe is going to be the most conducive when it comes to raising children, but also just for overall well-being.
I want to note that you brought up children being unequal to adults. I just hope you weren't comparing women to children.
I mean, it was technically a comparison of women
Okay,
and children.
I don't need you to
suppose.
protect me. I just need you not to harm me. I can protect myself. I'm very capable of doing what I need to do. Okay?
Okay, sure.
100%.
Okay, sure. We got Derek. Derek is bringing some heat to this. Derek is bringing some heat. All of you twos that predicted Derek there, he's firing from the hip here. Oh, man. Good old Derek.
I am an incel or an incel advocate, I suppose. I don't hate women at all. I think we're different and they have aspects that are superior to men as well. It's just very contextual on the subject.
Toxic masculinity is real.
I think that
By the way, sorry guys, I didn't explain that. Just so you know, they're walking to the chairs if they agree with the initial statement is they're walking. So as you see, all three women did and none of the guys did.
masculinity is definitely a real thing. It's kind of just the idea of what masculinity should be, but it goes wrong a lot of the times, saying that violence, sex, power, being a controlling person makes you a man.
I see it in very unfortunate places, like when the young men or boys in my family, even from like toddler age, are told, you shouldn't be crying, boys don't cry. And what that turns into, I see it when I'm in a bookstore and a guy who tries to get my number says, why y'all always gotta act like that? And he sincerely had this like cracking voice, like he was hurt, but it was an entitlement. And that's toxic masculinity. It's saying like, you don't realize how your behavior is harmful.
What does toxic masculinity mean? Is it character traits? Is it upbringing?
The suppression of feeling for a lot of men, because throughout childhood they're told man up. So because of that, there's a lot of repression. Repression then is usually channeled into anger for some people because they not always know how to express because they were told not to express.
So upbringing and
That's part of
environment.
it,
Okay.
yes.
But not something that's inherently a part of,
No.
of men.
No.
Okay.
I think that, when you're showing your emotions, especially to like, random people, random women in some cases, they will view you as weak. I was raised by a single mother. I love her. She's my mom. I love her. But I could have used being told to act like a man. I think back, there were some cases where I was too emotional, and that negatively affected how I, what happened to me.
Oh, hey guys, this is a quick question for you guys because Derek said he was, and this is, I'm genuinely curious. Derek said that he was raised by a single mother, and there were definitely times where he wished he had somebody to, basically tell him to man up and to basically get it together. So anyone in the chat, because both my parents are, they're still together, so I was not raised by a single mother, but anyone in the chat, do you guys agree with that? Is that also how you feel? Do you wish you kind of had some, because that's just a totally different world now that I think about it. It's got to be. Yeah, that would be so different if I just had lived with my mother. So different. Yeah, so any of you guys in the chat or on the replay later, if you agree with that, if you're raised by a single mother, you agree with that, I'm interested. I'm curious about that one. It's just a totally different perspective than how I grew up.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What is your definition of weak as a man?
Not being as forward as you could be, not being as honest, or trying to be not as emotional as you don't need to be. You don't have to cry over a cut. I know, sometimes cuts hurt a lot, but sometimes it's necessary to be strong for the benefit of not just yourself, but for the people around you. It's fine to act emotional in certain cases, but I don't think it's fine to act that way with a woman. Maybe, you have a really good friend and he sees you cry, he's your best friend and you're crying about something really personal. I think that's fine.
I feel like you're conflating two different situations because you started off with saying a random person or even women. So it feels like, okay, this is a woman that you don't have a bond with or any type of relationship with. And then you mentioned, or in front of your best friend, that's okay to cry. Well, that woman could be your best friend. That, so.
I don't think you can be friends with a woman, so.
So Derek said, he slipped in there I don't believe in being friends with a woman, or I don't think you can be friends with a woman. So that is something, again, you would hear in a lot of red pill circles. The thing I gotta say though about Derek, because Derek is taking shots, there is a difference. Kind of like we'll say, if you consider yourself MGTOW, it's like Fight Club. You don't talk about it outside. Especially if you're interacting with women or discussing anything with women, you have to put on a filter. I mean, I respect that he just flat out said it, but if you want to make any ground with women, you have to put on such a filter, which you can kind of see the other two guys are being a little bit more careful about their wording, because if you get on their bad side, they will not listen to you for the rest of the time, which you're probably going to notice. And some of you guys already noticed too how they were looking at him. So Derek is just taking shots. I do believe he could be much more calculated, though. That's my opinion.
Because you don't see us as equal, as you said before.
I don't think showing emotions is a sign of weakness. I actually think it's a sign of strength. Men do live shorter lives, and that's because of a repression of emotions, and that's due to many things that patriarchy has instilled.
Repression of emotions.
It has been shown that a person's well-being, their lifespan is shortened when they are not able to express their emotions. In addition, when they don't have physical touch or when they don't have a partner to keep them company. We are human beings here. We need to talk to each other. And if you think that our health isn't affected when you're not able to express that you are sad or upset, you're wrong. I think that men's rights activists are only men's rights activists as a response to women expressing that they want more equality. I don't think they focus on actual men's rights issues, and rather it's just an attack on women and feminism.
Today, women have more advantages than men.
I can speak from a hiring standpoint when it comes to things like affirmative action, and there are certain roles that traditionally men and women have been able to serve in, and now women can basically do all of those things, right? Because we've had such a strong advocacy for equal representation in the workplace, whereas, for example, you'll never find a man as a midwife nurse, and I don't think it's appropriate. That's why there are those differences.
Women in the most important parts of society have an advantage. There's a lot of positions that men simply aren't getting hired at anymore because of, you know, the fact that they're a man. And it's not just in the workforce, it's also, I would say, you know, it's a lot easier for a woman to find a relationship, even if she, you know, says finding the right guy is so hard. It really isn't. But sometimes for a lot of guys, finding a girl at all is hard.
If I have to consider what I wear before stepping out the house, because I don't want to draw some type of attention, I don't know how many other men have to consider, is this outfit going to be deemed safe for me? Any situation that I've experienced where like I physically felt endangered simply because I don't want to give my number out. It's part of that entitlement for men. You're not entitled a conversation with me. You're not entitled to my number.
That aside, it's like, are you gonna make one example of the entitlement of men when it comes to asking for your number be the all-encompassing thing that all men have a problem when it comes to approaching women?
Well, firstly, it's not just an example. It's not necessarily all men. I don't dislike men. I love sports, I play video games. I have bros, I hang out with dudes. We just want men to realize that if you have friends that are having locker room talk, as a man, as an ally, please say something to your friends.
Do you think repressing that is really the solution here, though? If it's in a healthy male space.
There's nothing
I don't think
healthy
that's
about
healthy. I think it's
No, I'm
toxic
not.
in itself.
I mean, if you're making jokes and you're doing all of that.
Jokes that are harmful jokes are not healthy because they just lead to people normalizing things. People always say, oh, it's just a joke, but when someone else hears it, they don't realize how that resonates, and again, how that turns into violence. Like, this is not an isolated situation. I'm only thinking of 3 off the top of my head, because if I think of too many, I'm gonna spiral
So
right now.
what's the alternative? Men shouldn't talk about these things.
No, I
No
think men
one's
can
ever
have a
said
healthy
that.
dialogue. I don't think men have to be toxic in order to have a conversation. I know plenty of men that are able to have conversations about healthy, productive things, just like women are.
Well, it's not obviously something that I have personal experience with, but only 1% of all people on the death row are women in this country. So when women and men commit identical crimes, women are much more likely to, for example, escape the death penalty. And that's just plain sex-based discrimination.
That I agree on.
That's true. Look.
So we got Kursat, the silent sniper, just waiting in the bushes, biding his time, waiting to come out and just drop. A Kursat truth bomb. This is where he's a little bit more calculated, in my opinion, than than Derek there. He was just waiting along, and he throws out the statistic. 1% of death row are females. So 99% would be men. If you are like me and believe that there are 2 genders, I know I can get in trouble for that in YouTube for saying that. Controversial take, 2 genders. Then the statistics are pretty skewed. So that was a nice Kursat truth bomb. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, share the video, but definitely subscribe.